Hi, so I didn't manage to get a video uploaded last week, sadly, but I've been really busy and there's good reason for it, but we'll get into why a little bit later on. But we're back now with a really exciting episode about creating concept art for your indie video game.
So, you've got to the point where you're ready to start creating concept art for your video game, and you've got two options. You can either do it yourself, or you can pay somebody to do it for you.
But what if you're like me, and you have no money and simultaneously no artistic talent whatsoever? Well, that's it then, we can't do it, can we? Or can we? Today we're going to be looking at the third option for creating concept art, and it's going to save us time and money, and we don't need any kind of skill or talent to do it. How are we going to do it? Using AI. So, first thing we need for our concept image is an idea. Like, you need that picture in your head that you want to try and get down on paper. And to give an example of this, I'm going to try and create an image for the very first level of my game that I'm currently in production of, The Old Gods. So, I'm going to get a pen and paper and just start blocking out what I imagine. So, my game starts out in this little fishing village, and there's this big lake just past the woods where our hero goes to fish. And this lake is going to be a pivotal part of the first act, which is why I keep picturing what it would look like in my mind. Now, I see a pier sticking out, and my character sat on the end of it. That's him with his little hat there, and his little buddy sat next to him. And then we've got the big lake sprawling out in front of them, and then some hills and mountains surrounding them on the sides. And to finish it off, let's do a little fishing boat next to the pier there, and there we go. That's how you create concept art for your game with no budget. Thanks for watching. Nah, just joking. Although I wasn't joking when I said I couldn't draw. This is looking terrible. So let's try and change this into something that looks half decent. So what we're going to do now is pop into our computers and make use of our first AI system. And this is completely free to use, by the way. And the first time I used it, it blew my mind. So about a year ago, NVIDIA released this AI software called Gaugen. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Gaugen. Now, what it does is it uses a specified color palette where each color references different kinds of terrain. So by painting predefined color for grass, the AI knows where we want our grass. So I'm just going to start painting out my rubbish drawing and see what happens. The really cool thing about this is how the AI works to take the basic color image we put in and give you an output that looks realistic. Using AI magic. And it works surprisingly well. Now, this isn't to say that it's flawless. It definitely requires some trial and error, but you can get a really impressive looking landscape in what is a very short amount of time. And more importantly, it's going to fit the image you're trying to create. I mean, look at that. So after a bit of fiddling, we know what we're happy with. We can save this image and bring it into our photo editor. Now, the best image editor to use for this will probably be Photoshop, but we don't have any money, remember? There are loads of free photo editing softwares that you can find to do this step. I'm actually using HitFilm, which is the video editing software that I use to edit my videos. It has a free version. So, once it's in our software, we can scale it up to the right size, and we need to get the rest of our elements in there. So I just headed onto stock photo website, searched for an image of a pier, and added that in. Then, for my character, I went to Mixamo, found a good pose, and exported it into Blender, and just lined up my camera and rendered the image as transparent. Do the same for his little buddy there, and all we need is a boat. Now, if you get stuck with this step, there's lots of tutorials out there on how to use Blender and how to add your textures and pose your characters, but if you'd like to see me do something like this, leave a comment below and I'll get around to it. So we're going to do the same for his little buddy there, and all we need now is a boat. Stock images come to save the day again, so I'll just do a bit of snippy to cut it out, plop it in, and hey, it still doesn't look fantastic, but it's getting there. So now we've got our base imagery sorted, we just need to pretty it up a bit, and for that we're going to go back to our good old friend AI, and this time we're going to be using something called style transfer. To explain style transfer simply, you feed the AI two images, your main image and then your style reference. The AI then compares this to hundreds of other images and attempts to recreate your base image with the style of your style input. Now, there's tons of sites and apps that have this technology now that you can search around for. Some are free, some are paid. I'm using Prisma, which is a paid service, but for what it does, I think it's 100% worth it, and I would recommend. I mean, it's a tiny amount of money for like a year's subscription. It's definitely worth the couple of quid. But if you're trying to stick to a zero budget, there are free alternatives out there. And after our style transfer has been applied with a style we think best suits our image, here's what we've got. It's really starting to come together now. For the finishing touches, all we need to do is crop it a little bit and add any extra bits. I've just added the title of my game and my company logo. And there we go. You can even take this one step further and take it back into a video editing software and add some animation to it just to give it that extra layer of flavour. But either way, we're done. From a poorly drawn sketch to a somewhat professional looking concept image that really communicates the imagery we have in our mind for our game. Now, I will say this does not beat a concept artist. By no means am I saying this is a method that's going to put artists out of work. At the end of the day, an AI is always going to lack that emotion and skill that you would get from a commissioned piece of art from an actual artist. What this is a fantastic way for indie or solo devs and non-artists to get their visual ideas down on paper without spending a load of money or even more time, which at the end of the day is what concept art is for. You're not selling it, you're not putting it in your game. This is a way for you to hone the visual style of your game and try and convey your ideas to others, whether or not they're on your team or just people you want to show off your game to. One last thing before we go, I'm really excited to announce the launch of my indie studio's website, Diffusion Games. You can head over there right now and get a closer look at the game I'm developing, as well as sign up to our newsletter to get monthly scoops of what we're up to, as well as what's going on in the game dev world. We're going to be releasing a load of cool resources and content on there in the future, so if you're interested, please head over. And if that's not enough for you, we now have a Discord server. They're both looking a bit barren at the moment, so please head over, show us some love. I'm really looking forward to talking to some other people in the community and getting to see what everybody's up to. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.